We're so pleased to be joined by JT O'Sullivan. JT O'Sullivan is a former NFL quarterback, and of course, you may know him as a former NFL Europe MVP. And now he runs the QB School, one of the best, I think, resources online for learning more about quarterbacks and breaking down film. You can find his fine work on YouTube and at theqbschool.com. JT, appreciate your time.
Yeah, my pleasure, Greg. Excited to be here. Talk some ball.
Do people rather introduce you as an NFL Europe MVP very often?
You'd be surprised. There's some diehards, some purists out there, but no, not. I wouldn't say often.
You are a guy who you had a lengthy career in the NFL. You've now kind of transitioned into over to the dark side of the media with us. Can you tell us a little bit about how you were able to kind of move from your playing days into what you're doing now, kind of breaking down film and breaking down quarterbacks?
Yeah, I guess I don't really put myself in that world, I guess, as a privilege, but no, that's no shot at you, y'all. I appreciate the media for a long time. I probably wasn't as good as I should have been when I was playing, to be honest with you, with the media as a fair kind of critique. But it's been a bit of a winding road to kind of exactly what I'm doing now. And I love what I'm doing now for a bunch of different reasons, but basically always thought I was going to coach football. You know, I was a Division II non-scholarship athlete, got no kind of scholarship offers coming out of high school. And so got a chance to play some great Division II ball in Northern California, had a great experience, and then just was fortunate enough to keep playing and really kept playing, you know, for nearly a decade. It bounced around quite a bit. And then when I was done, I kind of had pivoted a little bit aspiration wise, just because I had seen what it's like to coach, and I had moved so much playing that I just didn't want to do that, to be honest with you. More than anything else, I probably still had the aspirations to compete at the highest levels. I didn't like it. And so I didn't like what it looked like lifestyle wise, and was fortunate enough, didn't have to do it. And so the next best thing I thought was maybe athletic administration would be slightly more stable. And the reality is that it's probably not. I was probably a little naive, but I still think the athletic administration thing was a great transition for me for a few different things. One, I certainly love football and obviously enjoy it, but I played everything growing up. Like I think many people did. And so I have an affinity to, baseball, basketball, all of the above. And so really enjoyed kind of trying my toe in the athletic administrative intercollegiate athletic world. And the league does a great thing. If you're vested, they will pay for you to go back to grad school, a pretty significant stipend every year. And so I felt, as a Division II non-scholarship guy, I was like, well, I better take advantage of this money. I'm not leaving cash on the table when it comes to that regard. And so went back to school while I was playing, got my master's in the off season. And then when I was done playing, I kind of right at the end, I had got accepted into a doc program, and just kind of, it was a nice bridge transition towards getting that terminal degree, and kind of trying to think that I would be my kind of trampoline into the intercollegiate athletic world. When you look across like the high level athletic directors, many of them have doctors nowadays in higher education. So I thought that would be a nice transition. So I enjoyed the school part of it in between there. And that kind of bled into what I'm doing now, because I did kind of fall in love with the education and the classroom, and kind of the sharing information and what it looks like to break things down, pull them apart, and try to spit them out in a digestible way. And so I enjoyed that part of grad school. And then, realizing that the athletic administration thing wasn't going to work, I was like, well, I've been out of ball for about 5 years. I want to try my toe into, see if I still like it at all. And so the YouTube thing kind of came about because my brother is in the podcast world, and he was really animate about, he wishes if he could start over again, he would, maybe veer more towards the video YouTube world as opposed to the podcast world. And he was like, I'll help you set it up. And so that was a few years ago. And it's kind of, I basically told myself I put my head down for a year and see what happened. And I really just fell in love with it for a few different reasons. I can pick and choose whatever the hell I want to talk about, but then it's fun. And I enjoyed this part of it. And I have a blast interacting with a community that enjoys it as well. And so it just kind of continues to grow and grow.
Well, I love watching your stuff. I feel like I learned something, every time I watch you break down film, and you've done it for college stuff, for pro stuff. Obviously in the NFL playoffs, you've been pumping out a lot of content with this outstanding quarterback play. I'm interested, when you're watching a game live, how are you consuming the game? Because I have to imagine that the difference between you, former NFL quarterback, and a guy who functionally breaks down film for a living, you're watching it differently than maybe John Q fans. So how are you watching your average random Sunday night football game?
Well, I'll give you a couple different answers there. The first one is disappointing. I don't watch a whole lot of football live, just for a few different reasons. I got 3 young boys. Our weekends are pretty filled with their activities, not necessarily my kind of leisurely activities. And while this does fall into quote unquote a job, it's not a real job. So I can do it whenever I want to do it. Right. So I don't watch a whole lot of like sit down broadcast view. But if I were to, I think the main difference would be I just don't watch the ball probably as much as, John Q fan. And that depends on a few different things, whether, maybe I know a coach, for one of the teams and I want to, hone in on their position or whatever, or maybe, a real old guy maybe played with those types of things. But I enjoy watching the line of scrimmage. I'm the last few years, I've been a high school head football coach out here in San Diego. And so certainly understand the importance of the line of scrimmage. And I really do think that that's a massive impact, especially on the quarterback game and the pass protection world. So, and it's just one of those things for the broadcast guys. I can only imagine how hard it is to do those national games, color, play-by-play, et cetera. You just don't have time to get into the depth and detail of what's going on at the line of scrimmage because the game moves so fast now, especially at the college level where you're snapping plays all the time. And so I enjoy watching that part of it just because I think that that's really where you can make some significant kind of improvements and as far as what's really going on in the game, as opposed to, checking the stat line to see what someone's efficiency rating is or QBR or something like that.
You've now been out of the league for a few years, about a decade. And we hear all the time how much the game is changing, how rapidly the game is changing. I guess I'll just ask you the question, is the game changing that rapidly? How different is the game now that you're watching, specifically in the NFL? How different is it now than and schematically than it was when you were, in the quarterback room for the Chargers in 2010 or the Raiders in 2010?
Yeah, I think it has probably changed a significant amount over the decade. Is it 1 year, there was a huge surge versus another? No, but over the course of 10 years, I think there has been a number of different things that have impacted the way the game is played. The ones that come to mind immediately are just the rule changes to protect the quarterback, and really the rule changes to protect the health and safety of everyone. I think has made the game better, maybe a little bit hard for some quote unquote, older cats out there with how they think about the elements of toughness in football. But I really think it's made the game better. It certainly impacted the quarterback position and how the offensive plays, as far as being able to protect the quarterback, protect guys downfield, hitting with the helmet, those types of things. And so it's made it a little bit of a more, for lack of a better way to describe it, a little more 7-on-7-y on the perimeter. And, that's impacted the stats, that's impacted completion percentage. I also think that the game, because of those rules, has evolved to take advantage of the perimeter and the speed and what that looks like, whether it's throwing the ball, whether it's RPOs, whether it's, the talent at the quarterback position. I think better talented players, no offense to me 20 years ago, but more talented guys are playing the position. And so it's all of those things kind of compounding to have this output of what Sundays have become. And I think, you look across the landscape of the league, especially at the top tier, it's pretty special quarterback play right now. It almost feels like you're in a golden age of young and old guys playing together at a really high level.
You mentioned that you're coaching football out there in California, and so I presume you're working with quarterbacks. I know there's a lot of quarterbacks who are watching and coaches who are watching. As far as quarterbacks who want to make sure that they're taking that step to the next level to be as good as they can possibly do. What are the one or two things that you would give as far as general advice on what to focus on to take your game to the next level as a quarterback?
Well, I mean, that's a tough one. I'll give a few different angles here. So the coach in me wants them to be the most coachable player that is available in the program. And so really being able to be explicit with the coach and want to understand what is the intention of what we're doing. Are we running the wing tee? Are we running the slot tee? Are we running the air raid? Are we running the option? So I can, become a master at what we are. And from there, I think it comes from just being able to build on that knowledge. And obviously every relationship is a little bit different, whether you're the head coach, quarterback coach, coordinator, quarterback coach, all those types of things. And just understand how relationship oriented that position is and how optically relational it is. But then skill wise, for me, I'm always looking at accuracy and ball control. And so, that's not everybody can throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. You just can't. And especially if you coach high school football long enough, sometimes you're going to roll out there with maybe not the same skill set that you would love to have all the time as a coach at that position. And so being able to really maximize what that player does well, what you do well as a player. Now, obviously you want to work and kind of sharpen all the tools that you have available to you. But for me, it was always about, hey, what's the expectation on this throw? What is the tempo of the ball supposed to look like? Can I make this throw? Can I make a far wide field comeback throw? And, if I can't do it, it doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean you can't play the position. And for me, I'm always looking at that accuracy element of it. And then do you have all the clubs in the bag? So can you drive a ball? Can you show some touch? Can you layer a throw in? And not every program asks you to make all those throws, but I think once you get higher and higher in ball, you will be asked to make all of those throws. And then the things that you really work on yourself, which are a little bit tough because I feel like there is this like veil of secrecy as far as like footwork and, a stroke as far as the consistency and arm angles and things like that. So much of that to me is just being able to be as efficient as possible. But if you don't have access to the information, like I feel like there are so many good quality, quote unquote gurus out there that will work with the footwork, work with the base, work with the balance, work with the torque, the biomechanics of it, that even if you're not willing to pay the crazy fees to go out there and get the one-on-one, you can still get enough of the baseline information to have an idea of what you need to work on and just be consistent in your stroke. So if you're consistent with your ball control, with your accuracy, and you develop a bunch of different clubs in your bag, I think you got a great opportunity to be successful spinning it.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about some of the action going on this weekend. Specifically, here in the state of Texas, there's two guys we've got our eye on. One in LA with Matthew Stafford and one in Patrick Mahomes at Kansas City. Both Texas boys. I'm a football dummy. I can tell you those guys are pretty good. From your perspective, when you watch them, what is it about maybe those two particular guys that really impresses you?
Well, I mean, I don't know where you start and stop with Patrick Mahomes, really. I think it's a little bit interesting this year just because maybe for whatever reason, and I certainly haven't gone back and unpacked every single snap of the Chiefs all year, but seeming to somewhat struggle in their own kind of way earlier in the year to right that ship, to be able to play how they're playing right now. And that game just coming off the Bills Chiefs kind of epic quarterback masterpiece was pretty special on so many different levels. So, I think it's hard to kind of do Patrick Mahomes justice as far as saying what you're going to watch for, what you're not. I think right now you just kind of take it in and enjoy it. That's the thing. I feel like sometimes you catch these guys in their prime around great talent before they've had the opportunity to kind of go their own separate ways for whatever reason and just enjoy it. And so that's what I try to do with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid and company. Matthew Stafford, I think, is a little bit more interesting of a story and kind of an unpacking just because of what he went through in Detroit. Obviously not being able to do what he's wanted to do, winning in the postseason up until this year. And then this year, just kind of what the Rams are as a team, as an organization. I think, if you're around football long enough, you'll be around teams that add really good players, and it doesn't always equal like a great formula for success. And so how they've kind of conducted that cocktail. And then Matthew Stafford, a month ago struggling, for a while, throwing some pick sixes and playing, out of character, to then be able to kind of find his path, find his kind of resolution here these last few weeks and play really well at a really high level. And then the end of the game to knock a guy like Tom Brady maybe out forever, and at that type of performance is just really special on the road. I think a lot of people are cheering for him. And if he wins this weekend, I think, and his story becomes a little bit more national, you'll catch that momentum even a little bit more. Now, they certainly have a massive test this week versus the 49ers and what they're doing defensively. But it should be it's going to be fun to watch both those guys.
And finally, you mentioned you've got three boys. Is it fair to say that we're going to see some O'Sullivans under center? Or are we thinking? I mean, I was an offensive lineman, a bad one, so I don't know if you want to get over the trench side.
I mean, we're trying to promote like guitar and the frontman type model, but no, I would be shocked, if they don't. They've got some pretty natural arm talent that has probably nothing to do much with what I'm telling them to do, more the amount of wiffle ball that we play out here in our rough winters in San Diego. And so it's that season.
Coming to you from Dallas, I can tell you, I feel your pain. He's JT O'Sullivan. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel. Check out his fine work at theqbschool.com. JT, appreciate your time, my man. And thanks so much for stopping by with us.
My pleasure, Greg. Have a good one.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.